Just as I got set up to record this video, this small thunderstorm blew through. I had to put everything back in my truck and wait for it to blow over. Hi everybody, it's Pach with Three Peaks Photography. I am out on the eastern plains of Colorado, east of Colorado Springs, dodging storms. We just had one roll through and it looks like there might be another one on its way. So I'm going to try to get through this without getting struck by lightning. But in this video, I'm going to show you some mounting options for the Move Shoot Move Nomad. We have the Move Shoot Move Wedge, and I have both the older version and the updated version. I also have the Benro 3-way geared head, and Move Shoot Move made an adapter for wedges that have a dovetail fitting like the Skywatcher. So we're going to take a close look at all of these different options. I also have a spacer from Benro that you can use if you're using a large head like this one. So let's take a look. So the first option I'm going to show you is the Move Shoot Move Wedge. So this goes on to the top of the tripod first, and then the tracker goes on to here, then your ball head, then your camera. Okay, so this is the older version. I have the newer version with me. I'm going to show you the differences between the two. This is the knob that we use to adjust our declination. And then these are the knobs that we use to adjust our azimuth. And we're adjusting these knobs to align, in our case here in the northern hemisphere, to the North Star or Polaris. Okay. I have a couple of set screws in here that can be used to tighten the wedge down so the azimuth doesn't slip. But you see this handle, which is actually what's used to tighten down the wedge so that the declination doesn't slip, interferes with me tightening this other Allen screw. So that's rather inconvenient. And another issue with this older wedge is that these knobs sometimes got a little bit stuck. So let's take this one off and show you the new one. So here's the new and improved wedge. Let me turn this around. Okay, our knob for adjusting the declination looks a little bit different, but works the same way. This is the knob to adjust our clamp for putting on and securing the tracker. So this is an Arca Swiss type of clamp. And then let me turn this around again. These are the knobs that we have to adjust our azimuth or our compass direction. So the way these work is that you have to tighten one while you're loosening the other. And you can see the wedge rotating towards the right. That's because I'm tightening this screw and loosening this one at the same time. Once I get my tracker aligned properly, I can tighten these knobs to help keep the azimuth from slipping. And then I'm also going to tighten these knobs here, these thumb screws. So this is one of the differences with the new version of the wedge. This makes life much easier for us to tighten down the wedge to keep the azimuth from moving on us. And once I have my declination set as well, then I can tighten this handle, and that keeps the declination from slipping. Then I can put my tracker on, make sure that your clamp is open as wide as it can go, and then we slip this in here and tighten it up. So we want to make sure that when we use the wedge that our rotating plate is on the same side as the knob for the declination. So this needs to be pointing to our alignment star, which in this case is Polaris. So this is the Benro geared head. I have 3 knobs. This one in the front is for adjusting my declination. This one on the side is for adjusting my azimuth. And then this one on top is for adjusting my horizontal level. And then I have an Arca Swiss type clamp on the top, and you can see right this way that I have a knob to tighten down. I mean, you could put a camera on here, that would be fine. If I'm going to put my Nomad on, then I want to make sure that that fits in there securely and tighten that down. So again, my rotating plate needs to be in the same direction as the knob that I'm using to adjust my declination, and these need to be pointing towards our alignment star, and in this case that's the North Star for us in the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, now if I put on my head, I'm going to show you one of the issues that you may run into. And again, just reminding you that this is a rather large head. You may not have this issue if you're using a smaller head, but with this one, just tighten this down, and I put this on here and simulate the rotation of the plate. Look at what happens. This knob hits the geared head, and that's no good. That's going to stop you from getting any tracked shots. So it goes this way for a little while, but this is definitely a problem. So one solution, if you have a head that maybe isn't quite as large as this, you can use the extended plate, which I have on here right now, and we'll take a closer look at the regular plate and the extended plate, as well as the dovetail plate, show you the differences, show you how to swap those out on the Nomad. But even with this extended plate, I have this interference issue with this particular head. Now, you may not have that with yours, but another way to solve this problem is to use a spacer like this one. And let me show you what that looks like. So you would attach the red plate to the bottom of the spacer just like you would any other head. Screw this in here. Make sure that it's tight. You can also tighten this Allen screw to help keep that from slipping. Then I am going to put my Nomad back on to the geared head. Attach the spacer like this. And now I can put my head on. There we go. Now, if I simulate the rotation of the plate on the Nomad, I have avoided any interference with the three-way head. Okay? So this is a good solution for large heads like this one. Again, if you have a smaller head that's tall, you may not have this situation. You may be able to get away with the extended plate on the Nomad, but you can see here that I've got a few more pieces of equipment, or at least 2 more pieces of equipment. So if I'm going hiking, maybe this isn't the best choice for me because this is kind of bulky, a little bit heavy, and I've got the added weight of the spacer. But this works really great, and I have had good success with this particular setup. And of course, once you get the head on properly, then you can place your camera on top of the ball head. Okay. So with the dovetail plate, you can attach the Nomad to a third-party wedge like the Skywatcher wedge. So if you already had the Star Adventurer and the wedge that goes with it, you don't have to buy a new wedge. This one works the same way as the Move Shoot Move wedge does. So we have the knobs in the back to adjust your azimuth. We have these two screws that will lock in your azimuth adjustment. We have, gotta loosen this up. We have this knob in the front that adjusts our declination, and then this handle will lock that position in. And then if we have the dovetail attachment or the dovetail plate for the Nomad, we can fit it in here. And I am going to show you that in another clip because I forgot to bring it with me. So stay tuned. So let's take a closer look at the different mounting options for the MSM Nomad. First combination I'm going to show you is the MSM Wedge. This is the newer version, and the MSM Nomad Tracker. So this is the simplest and the lightest combination. So we're going to be mounting the wedge onto the top of the tripod, and then we mount the Nomad to the top of the wedge with this clamp, and this is an Arca-Swiss type clamp. You have to make sure that the rotating plate on the Nomad faces the same direction that the knob for adjusting the declination faces to align with your aligning star, such as the North Star or Polaris here in the Northern Hemisphere. This handle locks down your declination position. These knobs in the back adjust our azimuth, and then these thumb screws will lock down your azimuth position. This is very lightweight, so if I am going hiking or backpacking, or if I need to walk a certain distance to my shooting destination, this is what I'm going to carry with me because it will save me some weight. Okay. Alright. Now, if you're using the Nomad with the three-way Benro geared head, then you may have run into an issue with interference. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to take this mounting plate off for now, but we're going to use it a little bit later. Move some of this stuff out of the way. So if I take my Nomad and I place it onto the Benro three-way geared head, and I remove my mounting plate and place a ball head on top. This, by the way, is my Explorer ball head for my Explorer EXP Pro tripod. This is my go-to tripod and head combination for star tracking. By the way, I do like this Allen screw here. You tighten it down with an Allen key, and this prevents the plate from slipping. If I have a screw like this, then I like to tighten it with a coin instead of trying to tighten it with my fingers. A coin will get it nice and tight and secure. Okay. So if I put this head onto the geared head, you can see what happens. Let me loosen up the knob here for the panning feature. And as I swing this around, you can see that this knob hits the geared head. If I go the other direction, this knob for tightening the ball hits this knob. So I get some leeway here. I can use this head in this configuration for a while if I want to, but I have to be really careful to watch my position of the ball head as the tracker rotates so that I don't end up with this interference. So let me show you a couple of solutions. But before I do that, I'm also going to show you what this looks like with a smaller head. Take this off. Okay, here's a much smaller head. And we're going to put on the mounting plate. Just tighten this a little bit. And if I put this on the Nomad, loosen up the knob for my panning, you can see I get some interference with the main knob that adjusts the ball. This knob clears, so I'm able to use this head somewhat just like the previous one, but I have to really make sure that I am watching the position of this ball head as I'm using the tracker so that I'm not in a position where this bumps up against the geared head and stops me from getting the pictures that I need. One of the solutions is the new Vixen extended mounting plate for the Nomad, and you can see how much thicker that is. To remove the original plate, when you buy one of these plates, you get an Allen key that has a Torx fitting. These screws in the bottom of the plate for the Nomad are Torx head screws. So what I want to do is take these out. And replace the mounting plate. Okay, you'll notice this machine depression here and a raised platform on the plate. So you want to make sure that this fits into the machined area. And also note that there is a mounting thread here, which we're going to utilize later. So I'm putting my screws back in here, tighten this down. Okay, now that I have the plate secure, I'm going to go back to my geared head, place the tracker into the clamp for the geared head. Alright, now we'll put our ball head back on and see how we did. Alright, so if I loosen my panning knob, you can see now that I have plenty of clearance between the head and the ball head and the geared head. So what the extended plate did was move the Nomad away from the geared head so that all the knobs will clear. Okay, but let me go back to my Explorer head and show you that we still have an issue if we're using a head of that size. So this particular solution will work well for the smaller heads, but let's take a look at what happens here. Okay, put the Nomad mounting plate on the bottom of the ball head. Tighten that down. Okay. Get this tightened up here. Alright, so when I loosen the knob for panning, to simulate the rotation of the Nomad. I still have interference with this main knob for the ball, and I can swing it around and I get almost maybe 300 degrees of rotation, and I can use it this way again, but just make sure that you're keeping an eye on the position of the ball head. So check this out. There were two things I mentioned earlier that I said were gonna come in handy for us. So let me take the Nomad off of the geared head. So this is the mounting plate that came with the three-way geared head. If I attach this to the bottom of the extended plate with this threaded hole, then I have a quick and easy solution to this problem. Alright. Now remember, or keep in mind, that adding this plate adds another piece to the puzzle that might slip. Okay, so make sure when you're tightening this screw that you get it nice and secure. I'm going to put this inside the clamp, tighten down the clamp, and then put my ball head back on and check it out. No interference. Okay, so I am good to go when it comes to this particular head, which is my favorite to use at this point. Alright, let me tighten this back up. Now let me show you what happens if I use an even bigger ball head and the solution for it. So let's take this one off. Now this is a very large head, okay, and if I put the Nomad mounting plate onto the bottom of it, if I can get it threaded, there we go, tighten that. Alright, now when I put this onto the Nomad, there we go, and loosen the knob for panning to simulate the rotation of the tracker. Oops, my main knob for adjusting the ball hits this knob, and if I go around the other side, it now interferes with this section of the geared head. So again, I can use this for a while, but it's not ideal because I have to keep watching the position of my head to make sure that it hasn't rotated into a position where it's hitting the geared head. So here is another solution that works really well. Take this off. Okay, this is made by Benro. This is a tripod spacer. Okay, so what this is going to do is extend the position of the ball head a couple inches so that the knobs on the ball head all clear the geared head. So what we need to do is put our Nomad plate on, get this screw tightened, secure the spacer with the red ring onto the Nomad. Now put my head onto the top of the spacer. A little tricky to get these threads started. There we go. Alright, now you can see when I loosen up the knob for the panning to simulate the rotation of the Nomad, I have no interference whatsoever. I am very much clear of the head. And I also do not need to have these two extra pieces on here. So let me show you that again from this angle. Everything is nice and clear. So what I could do is I could take off the plate for the geared head and replace the extended plate with the, oops, wrong. Can replace the extended plate with the regular plate, and this will work just fine. Again, when you're putting these plates on, make sure that this raised portion fits into the milled out area on the bottom of the Nomad. Get our screws in there. Okay, attach this to the clamp of the geared head, and now put the ball head on. And you can see that I still have avoided any issues with interference with the geared head. So just wanted to show you that this works without the extended plate and the plate for the geared head. Okay, so cool. Now I've got multiple solutions for solving this problem with interference. Let's take a look at the Vixen dovetail plate, which is to use to mount the Nomad to third-party wedges. So let's take some of this stuff off, move it over to the side. Alright, so if you own a third-party wedge that has this trapezoidal shape on the clamp, you can take the dovetail attachment plate, simply slide it in here, and tighten it down with the clamp. Okay, so let me actually put this on the Nomad to show you what it looks like. Take out our Torx head screws. Okay, get our dovetail plate in there, make sure it's seated properly, drop in our screws. Okay, now that's nice and secure. All I have to do is slide this into the clamp, tighten this knob to lock that down, and now I can put my, I don't need this. Now I can put my mounting plate for the Nomad on the bottom of my ball head and attach that to the Nomad. And you can see with this setup, with the MSM wedge, with this wedge, I have no issues at all with interference. So we don't have to worry about using an extended plate or a spacer. Alright, so there you have it. Lots of different mounting options for making great use of your Move Shoot Move Nomad tracker. As you can see from this video, the I just got distracted by a really cool bird. Anyway, as you can see from this video, the Nomad is a very versatile tool. You've got lots of different options for mounting it, and I've had great success getting some really good images of the night sky. Well, the storms have passed, the sun's back out, and I'm going to go hang out with the meadowlarks and the mockingbirds and the owls for a while. So have fun and be safe and get some great shots with your Move Shoot Move equipment.